Fast 10 is finally hitting theaters globally, and thanks to Universal Pictures, I had the chance to check the movie out a few days early. Here are my thoughts. Over many missions and against impossible odds, Dom Toretto and his family have outsmarted, outnerved and outdriven every foe in their path. Now they confront the most lethal opponent they've ever faced, a terrifying threat emerging from the shadows of the past who's fueled by blood revenge, and who is determined to shatter this family and destroy everything and everyone that Dom loves forever. Fast 10 is the 11th, if you count Hobbs and Shaw, installment in the Fast and Furious Saga. It is the first installment in I guess what is either going to be a duology or a trilogy that wraps up the story of the Fast family. Of course, the Fast and Furious movies have become more and more insane and bonkers and bombastic. Over time, there are so many of these movies, and each time they just kind of have to push it further and further and further. With Fast 9, they pushed maybe a little bit too far. The characters went up into space, and a lot of people just kind of weren't on board with that. So with Fast 10, you can really feel they're starting to pare down in some respects. It's some of the more kind of outlandish things are kind of toned down a little bit here. They aren't as crazy as going to space. But that said, we still haven't stripped right back to the kind of basics that this franchise kind of originally began with. A bunch of street races and you know, like low-level street crime heists, all that kind of stuff. It's still big, international, big explosive car chases and international global terrorists and all that kind of stuff is still here, but it's been pared back a little bit since the last outing. Now, I didn't mind the last one. I've enjoyed all of these movies kind of to varying degrees, but I think we can all agree that the best chunk of this franchise, the kind of the meat of the franchise, is installments 5 through 7, and in some respects, Fast 10 kind of feels like one of these movies. It feels like it kind of has come from that era, and I think that's a great thing, because this is, I think, the best Fast movie we have had since those kind of 3 or 4 movies in the middle there, and it really does. I mean, we're throwing back to one of the I've only watched the movies once, and I can't remember which was which, but it throws back to the one with the big vault chase, and we kind of spin off the back of that and reintroduce characters, and the story kind of uses that as a linchpin to set this finale of the Fast saga into trajectory. And I think that's really great, because this movie does feel like it does make that effort not to be so outlandish, and it just gets back to being just a really silly kind of action movie, big blockbuster film. That said, it is still a big, dumb and brainless film, and you do expect that from these movies. Even the earlier movies were dumb, kind of meathead movies, and that's the part of the charm. You can't take them too seriously. You gotta shut your brain off and just enjoy them. That said, I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. It's stupid, but the movie is so self-aware of itself that it goes out of its way to kind of embrace its hamminess, its goofiness, its the cornball nature of the whole thing. It really has got to a point where the franchise is just embracing that and going, you know what, we're just gonna roll with this. And I think that's a really great thing to do, because it lets the audience in, it lets the audience know this isn't serious, you're just here for a bit of a fun time. Now, there's so many people in this movie. That said, the greatest part about this movie is easily Jason Momoa. He is a scene stealer. He's a movie stealer. He just takes this whole movie completely off the grid and does his own thing. He is flamboyant, he's macho, he's everything in between, and he puts in this really great goofball performance that is equal parts hilarious, but also legitimately, genuinely terrifying. Like, this character is pure evil, and Jason Momoa really latches onto both parts of the character and delivers this really well-rounded, beautifully crafted performance that just does not feel like it belongs in this franchise. It feels like it is just something that is just so totally out of this world, and it really gives the franchise a huge shot to the arm. And I'm looking for. I'd love to see more like this in the coming installments. Of course, Brie Larson joins the crew in this movie as well. She eats absolutely every scene she is in. She's fantastic, and she didn't get as much screen time as I really would have hoped, but she is in there, and she does play a really cool role and really great. I actually think maybe the weakest part of this movie is Vin Diesel. It's a very emotional story. He brings an emotional core to the story. story, and in that respect, you know, the movie strips back to the real emotional nature of the, particularly the earlier movies. But I also feel that Vin is kind of maybe the weakest link in this film. He doesn't have a lot to do. He provides the stakes, he provides the heart and the emotion, but he doesn't really have a lot to do, and he's kind of just off on his own for a lot of the movie, just kind of doing his own thing, and everyone else is putting all the wheels in motion. I feel like maybe it's setting this up for whatever is going to come next, and all the pieces are going to come together, so I'm looking forward to seeing how. At the end of the day, once again, this is just a big, dumb, brainless movie, and that's what is on the packet. That's what's, you know, on the front of this movie, and it delivers exactly what we're expecting. If you were kind of thrown off a little bit by the last one and said, you know what, they've been to space, I'm not checking in again, I'd say give this franchise another go, because they have really addressed sort of some of the, I guess, complaints that have come out of the last couple of movies and really tried to pare down. And I think they're going to deliver a really decent finale to this franchise. It's probably going to keep going on for a number of years in spin-offs and whatever else, but I think this core, you know, the Toretto saga, if we want to call it that, is going to round out really nicely. And if you've stuck with this franchise for, you know, the best part of 20 plus years, 10, 11 installments, definitely jump back in for the last couple of movies, because I think we're really in good hands here. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. It's a fun night of the movies, it's brainless fun, and yeah, go and check it out. At that, I'll be giving Fast 10 a 3.5 out of 5. And at that, I want to know, what are your thoughts on Fast 10? If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it just yet, what are your expectations like going into this one? As always, join the conversation down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.